I'm Randall Pierce, 58 years old, living in Asheville, North Carolina. I've spent most of my life as a construction foreman. My wife, Denise, 56, works as a hospital administrator. We raised 2 daughters, Melissa and Brooke, and recently became grandparents. For 31 years, I believed we had the kind of marriage that could survive anything. Not perfect. Just solid. The kind built through mortgage payments, long work weeks, family vacations, and countless ordinary Tuesdays. Then one forgotten email account changed everything. It started on a rainy Thursday evening. Denise was visiting our younger daughter after the birth of her second child. I stayed home because a project deadline was keeping me busy. While paying bills, I opened an old laptop we hadn't used in years. The machine was slow enough to qualify for historical preservation, but I needed a tax document stored on it. As it loaded, an email notification appeared. At first I ignored it. Then I noticed the name. Denise's old email address. The one she supposedly stopped using years ago. Curiosity isn't always a virtue, but neither is pretending not to see something strange. The account was still active. Even stranger, there were recent messages. Not spam. Not advertisements. Real conversations. My stomach tightened. For the next 20 minutes, I simply sat there staring at the screen. Men my age know that feeling. The moment when your mind starts writing stories before facts arrive. I refuse to jump to conclusions. That's one principle I've always lived by. Facts first. Emotions second. The messages themselves weren't romantic. At least not directly. But they were personal. Very personal. Several came from someone named Claire. Others from a man named Victor. There were references to meetings. Private discussions. Phrases like, "Don't tell the girls yet," and "We're not ready." Nothing inappropriate. Everything suspicious. I leaned back and rubbed my forehead. Denise and I shared finances. Shared schedules. Shared practically everything. So why maintain a secret email account for years? Why hide conversations? Why keep people I had never heard of completely outside our lives? I called my friend Wesley, a retired accountant who's known me since high school. Am I overreacting? I asked. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. But don't accuse her until you know what you're looking at. Good advice. The kind older men learn to appreciate. That night I barely slept. Every explanation seemed possible. Every explanation seemed dangerous. The next morning I started making a timeline of the messages. And that's when I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The emails seemed connected to one specific date from 3 years earlier, a date Denise had always avoided discussing. I thought I finally understood what was happening. I was wrong. The date kept appearing throughout the emails. 3 years earlier. October 14th. I knew that date well because it was the week Denise unexpectedly took several vacation days from work. At the time, she told me she was exhausted and needed a break. I didn't question it. After 3 decades of marriage, you learn not to interrogate every decision. Still, something bothered me. The messages from Claire and Victor weren't random. They formed a pattern. I spent Saturday morning reviewing them carefully. Not snooping through every corner of her life. Just following facts. The earliest messages started right after October 14th. One email from Claire read, "You carried this alone for too long." Another from Victor said, "The family doesn't need the burden until you're ready." Burden. Ready. Those words stayed with me. Then I found an attachment. Not the attachment itself. Just a reference to it. A document titled, "Long-Term Planning Options." Planning for what? Our retirement accounts were transparent. Our mortgage was long paid off. We had no major debts. I opened my office cabinet and pulled out years of financial records. If there was a secret account, hidden investment, or unexplained expense, I'd find it. Construction taught me something valuable. Problems leave footprints. For 4 hours I reviewed statements. Nothing. No missing money. No mysterious transfers. No signs of an affair. Honestly, that should have reassured me. Instead, it made the mystery worse. By afternoon, I called our older daughter Melissa. Not to accuse her mother. Not to start family drama. Just to ask a simple question. Have you ever heard of a woman named Claire? There was a pause. A long one. Then Melissa answered carefully. Why are you asking? My grip tightened on the phone. Because that wasn't confusion. That was recognition. Just answer the question, I said calmly. Another pause. Mom mentioned her once. My heart skipped. When? A couple years ago. What did she say? I don't remember exactly. That answer sounded rehearsed. Not dishonest. Protected. As if she suddenly realized she'd revealed more than intended. After we hung up, I sat alone in the kitchen. 31 years of marriage. 2 daughters. A growing family. Yet somehow I was standing outside a conversation everyone else seemed to know existed. Men, what would you have done? Because I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is simple. This was something else. The feeling that a wall had been quietly built inside your own home while you were busy living your life. That evening Denise called from our daughter's house. Her voice sounded normal. Warm. Familiar. But for the first time in decades, I found myself listening between the words. Then she casually mentioned something that stopped me cold. By the way, she said, if anyone asks about Claire, tell them she's just an old friend. I stared at the phone in silence. I had never mentioned Claire. Not once. And suddenly Denise knew I had found something. We had only scratched the surface. What happened when Denise came home was something I never saw coming. Denise returned home Sunday afternoon. 31 years together teaches you how to read a person before they speak. The moment she walked through the front door, I knew she was carrying something heavy. Not guilt. Fear. There's a difference. She hugged me, set down her bag, and tried to act normal. I let her. A man doesn't win anything by rushing into a confrontation before he's ready. That evening, after dinner, I brought 2 cups of coffee to the kitchen table. Let's talk about Claire. The color drained from her face. For several seconds she didn't move. Then she slowly sat down. I was hoping this wouldn't happen yet, she said. Not denial. Not confusion. That caught my attention. I opened a folder containing notes I'd made from the emails. Who is Victor? She looked away. Someone helping me. Helping you with what? Silence. The kind that fills an entire room. I stayed calm. No raised voice. No accusations. Just facts. I found the old email account. She closed her eyes. I know. That surprised me. You knew. I saw the login notification. For the first time, I realized she had known for days that I was investigating. Neither of us said anything. The refrigerator hummed in the background. Rain tapped against the windows. Finally, Denise spoke. Randall, some things became complicated. Complicated. I almost laughed. That's a word people use when they're trying to make a tornado sound like a breeze. What things? Again, silence. Then tears appeared in her eyes. That shook me more than any email. My wife wasn't a dramatic person. In 31 years, I'd seen her cry only a handful of times. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. Those words landed hard. Because innocent people rarely start with them. I leaned forward. Then tell me the truth. She opened her mouth. Then stopped. Whatever she was about to say seemed trapped behind years of hesitation. Instead, she reached into her purse and removed a folded photograph. An old one. The edges were worn. The image showed Denise standing beside a younger woman I had never seen before. The resemblance was unmistakable. Same eyes. Same smile. Same face. My pulse quickened. Sister? I asked. Denise nodded slowly. I felt the floor shift beneath me. In 3 decades of marriage, Denise had always told me she was an only child. Always. I looked from the photo back to my wife. You've got about 10 seconds to explain that. Her shoulders trembled. Her name was Claire. The room went completely silent. Suddenly the emails made sense. At least part of them. But not enough. Not even close. Because the next question was obvious. If Claire was her sister, why had she hidden her existence from me, our daughters, and everyone else for over 30 years? And why had the secret resurfaced 3 years ago? Denise lowered her head and whispered a sentence that changed the entire investigation. Because I thought she was dead. I thought I finally had an answer. Instead, I had a far bigger mystery. I barely slept that night. Not because I was angry. Because my mind couldn't stop trying to fit impossible pieces together. By Monday morning, I took the day off from work. Denise sat across from me at the kitchen table, looking exhausted. For the first time since this started, she seemed ready to talk. I placed the photograph between us. Start at the beginning. She nodded. Then the story came out. Claire was her older sister. When Denise was 17, their family went through a brutal collapse. Her father walked out. Her mother fell into depression. Arguments became daily events. Eventually, Claire left home after a major fight and cut off contact with everyone. Months later, another relative claimed Claire had died in an accident while traveling. No proof. No funeral. Just a story that spread through the family. Denise was young, overwhelmed, and grieving. She accepted it. Years passed. Then decades. She met me. We built our life. The subject never came up because, in her mind, Claire belonged to a painful chapter she wanted buried forever. What changed 3 years ago? I asked. Denise stared at the table. Victor. There it was again. The name from the emails. She explained that Victor was a retired social worker who had been helping reconnect separated family members. Through a chain of old records and mutual contacts, he discovered something shocking. Claire had never died. She was alive. I leaned back slowly. Part of me felt relief. Another part felt betrayed. Not because Claire existed. Because Denise had carried this discovery alone for 3 years. You found your sister alive and never told me. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I was afraid. Of what? The answer came immediately. Of losing her again. That stopped me. Fear. Not deception for personal gain. Fear. Still, fear doesn't justify secrecy. I reminded her of that. Calmly. Firmly. A marriage cannot survive when one spouse becomes the sole guardian of major truths. Denise nodded through tears. I know. Then she told me the part that finally explained everything. Claire had been battling a serious medical condition since they reunited. The emails. The meetings. The secret trips. The long-term planning documents. They were all connected to helping Claire prepare for an uncertain future. Not an affair. Not hidden money. Not a second life. A sister trying to make up for 40 lost years. I understood the motive. I still didn't approve of the secrecy. Those are different things. Then Denise handed me a folder. Inside were letters, medical records, photographs, and one document that explained why our daughters seemed to know pieces of the story. My wife had slowly brought them into the situation while continuing to keep me in the dark. That discovery hurt more than anything else. Denise looked me straight in the eye. For the first time, there were no defenses left. No half-truths. No hiding. Just a woman waiting to learn whether 31 years of marriage could survive her biggest mistake. What happened next would determine the future of our entire family. The folder sat between us for a long time. I read every page. Every letter. Every medical update. Every photograph showing two sisters trying to reclaim decades stolen by time. By the end, I understood the entire story. And understanding changes things. Not always immediately. But it changes them. Denise hadn't betrayed me with another man. She hadn't hidden money. She hadn't built a secret life. What she had done was something both smaller and larger at the same time. She had stopped trusting her husband with her fears. That was the real wound. I closed the folder and looked at her. Do you know what hurts most? She nodded. I left you out. Exactly. The tears returned. Not dramatic tears. The kind that come when excuses finally run out. For years, she had convinced herself she was protecting everyone. Protecting Claire. Protecting our daughters. Protecting me. But protection without honesty becomes isolation. And isolation becomes secrecy. That's how good people make bad decisions. A week later, Denise arranged for me to meet Claire. I won't forget that day. The resemblance between the sisters was remarkable despite the years. Claire was 61, thinner than I expected, but sharp, funny, and grateful for every day she had. Within 10 minutes, I understood why Denise had been terrified. After losing her sister once, she couldn't bear the possibility of losing her again. Fear had been driving the entire situation. Fear rarely produces wisdom. It usually produces silence. Over the following months, we made changes. Real changes. Not promises made during emotional conversations. Actions. Denise gave me access to everything connected to Claire's situation. No hidden accounts. No private communication channels. No separate worlds. We created a transparency rule for our marriage: if something is important enough to hide, it's important enough to discuss. Our daughters joined several family conversations as well. Those meetings weren't always comfortable. But they were honest. And honesty repairs things that pride cannot. One evening, nearly a year after I discovered that forgotten email account, our entire family gathered for dinner. Claire was there. Melissa and Brooke were there. The grandchildren ran through the house creating the kind of noise that older people secretly complain about and secretly love. I watched Denise laughing with her sister. Then she looked across the room at me. There was gratitude in her eyes. But also respect. Because forgiveness doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. Forgiveness means facing what happened honestly and choosing to rebuild anyway. From strength. Not weakness. Our marriage survived because we finally addressed the real problem. Not Claire. Not the emails. Not the secrets themselves. The problem was fear growing in silence. Today, Denise and I are stronger than we were before all of this began. Not because the crisis was pleasant. It wasn't. We're stronger because we learned that even after 31 years of marriage, transparency is still a daily choice. And love isn't proven by hiding burdens. It's proven by carrying them together. What would you do if the person you trusted most kept a life-changing secret for years? Sometimes the danger isn't the secret itself, it's the silence surrounding it. One husband discovered that wisdom, not anger, was the only way to save what mattered most.